Welcome, everyone. Let me call the Stillwater Planning Commission of August 18th, 2020 to order. Please call the roll. Do you mean to call the roll first?
Mr. Buchert?
Present.
Mr. Rickelman?
Here.
Mr. Shanahan?
Present.
Mr. Ohm is absent. Mr. Allred?
Present.
First item of business is 2A, AEI Corp. Oklahoma Incorporated Map Amendment MA 20-02 requesting review and approval rezone property addressed at 517 Southwest Street from T5 to Commercial General. Staff, are you ready to make the presentation?
We are indeed. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, Ryan Harkins, Community Development Department. So this map amendment request is, as noted, 517 Southwest Street. The subject property is noted here in the hatched pattern. It's just off the intersection to the northeast, of West and 6th Street. The subject property, as I mentioned, is in the hatch pattern. It is here inside the yellow polygon. So this is looking to the east. 6th Street would be over here. This would be west. This is zoned T5. This property is zoned GC or CG, general commercial. This is a little bit more from street level. And then this is street level looking back towards 6th Street. So you can see on the zoning here, again, the subject property and the hatch pattern, you can see the CG zoning along 6th, the T5 to the north and the east, and then CG across the street, across West Street, I should say, to the west. This is a property whose had a number of development concepts over the last 9, 10, 11 months. The applicant has looked at going from developing property that would be in compliance with the design guidelines within the form-based zoning code of T5 to moving to rezoning in order to have a building similar to what's found to the west of West Street. So just a box type of office strip commercial building with multiple bays, to now moving toward wanting to look at rezoning the property to match the CG to the south in order to sell all of their lots at that location. Future land use map is here, and it's a little harder to see, but it shows residential in this area and low density that neighborhood commercial could be mixed in if it's within close proximity. As we explain in the staff report, it implies that this would be something that close to serve commercial properties that would serve nearby residents. This gives you a little bit closer in view of this area. You'll see that this goes from low density residential into the corridor commercial area, which we note in the staff report this area is included in, and that's part of the basis with form-based code zoning. With that, staff would be happy to answer any questions that you might have. I do believe the applicant's agent was going to be available to speak as well.
Are there any questions of the staff?
Yes, I have a question. Staff, do you know what the rationale was for the city to include that property in the T5 as opposed to having it zoned as a CG?
The staff involved in the meeting tonight do not I believe.
I was on the planning commission at that time, and I'll give you my interpretation of how we drew the line. We drew the line along Sixth Avenue, saying that 1 or 2 lots needed to go commercial, realizing that maybe a lot or 2 more would go commercial later time. So to me, this fits into that rationale. That's my remembrance and understanding from being on the planning commission at that time. So there wasn't any strong line to draw that. There wasn't any strong definition of why that line could have been drawn. It could have been drawn 1 or 2 lots further north. But we drew it at that time because that's the way it was.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Any other questions of me or the staff? Does the applicant want to say something this particular time, or the applicant's representative?
Yes, this is Kelly Harris. Can you all hear me okay? Okay, great. Kelly Harris at 923 South Lowry, here representing the owners tonight. As Ryan mentioned, we've looked at a lot of different options for this lot. The owners do own the property all the way down to 6th Street. And so currently the lots that they own have 2 separate zoning classifications, the CG along 6th and then the T5 for this property. At this time, they are going to look at selling it. And so we believe that the 6th Street frontage, the CG, would be more desirable for buyers. So that's what we want to do. We just want to clean it up. And so that all properties have the same zoning classification. Any other questions for me?
Any questions of the applicant's representative?
Yes, I have a question. So what would make the CG zoning more amenable to being sold on the market rather than a T5?
The CG zoning district is more comfortable for buyers. T5 has some more requirements. The CG zoning is what you find more along 6th Avenue. So that's what everybody else has done too. So the T5 would just be an extra wrinkle that a buyer would have to understand.
That's the rationale then?
Yes.
Any other questions of the applicant's representative? Hearing none at this time, let me officially open up the public hearing. Is there anybody that'd like to speak for or against this item during the public hearing? Anybody that would like to speak for or against this item during the public hearing? Seeing no one or hearing no one, I will officially close the public hearing. And the staff, if you would finish with your presentation and alternative.
Happy to do that. So in terms of findings, staff notes in the staff report, as well as here on the screen, that development code allows for rezoning through map amendments. This is a normal process that Planning Commission is used to seeing. In this particular case, CG is a adjacent zoning district already found along 6th Avenue. The map amendment would allow them to have, as the applicant's agent noted, all of the properties that they own within one zoning district. It essentially takes out the need to do compliance with form-based code zoning on that lot with regard to design standards for a building or anything else. Other alternative options, as we note, would be a form-based code warrant or alternative compliance application to comply with architectural design standards or anything else. than the form-based code zoning district of T5. Comp plan does note a mix of low-density residential and commercial uses in this area where that neighborhood commercial would come in. We note in the staff report that neighborhood commercial would imply, again, close proximity to a commercial use where people could walk or get there without necessarily having to use an automobile. With that being said, your options are that you can accept the findings and recommend approval. You can find the request is not appropriate and recommend denial. You can table this item to a certain date. If you feel additional discussion or information is needed, the other thing I would note is if you feel there would be an alternative zoning that would be appropriate for the subject property other than CG, that would be a less dense zoning district, you could make that recommendation as well. So you could accept findings, but recommend approval with an alternative. That said, staff would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions, staff, this time? Hearing no questions, staff, do we have discussion and or motion?
I move we accept and move for acceptance and approval to the city council.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? I'll call for the vote.
Mr. Buchert,
Yes.
Mr. Rickelman,
Yes.
Mr. Shanahan,
No.
Mr. Allred.
Yes.
Motion passes. Let's go to item 3A, special meeting summary of August 4th, 2020 for review and possible action. Any discussion or a motion on the minutes?
I move for approval.
Got a motion?
Second.
Motion a second. Call for the vote.
Mr. Buchert,
Yes.
Mr. Rickelman,
Yes.
Mr. Shanahan,
Yes.
Mr. Allred.
Yes.
Miscellaneous items, our next plan commission is scheduled for September 1st, 2020. See no other miscellaneous items?
I have one quick question.
Yes, sir.
2 meetings back, I thought we had postponed one of the topics to last meeting. And then it was withdrawn last meeting. And then it didn't come up at all at this meeting. So it's not on our end that we've got to take up this item or whatever anymore, right? It's now, it'll come back when it comes back.
It was withdrawn and
Okay.
applicant has to go through steps to get it back on.
Okay. So it's withdrawn. So it's not anything we have hanging over us, sort of like we haven't gotten to.
No.
That was it. Then I move to adjourn. Sorry.
No problem. That's a good question. Motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion a second. Let's call the roll.
Mr. Buchert,
Yes.
Mr. Shanahan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickelman,
Yes.
Mr. Allred.
Yes.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much for your time.